Okay.
So today I'm going to start exception. Have you any idea about exception?
No.
Exception is present everywhere. No anyone can be perfect. So 1% you can say exception. Like suppose we are riding a bike. So accident can be happen. So for this reason must be wear helmet and if you are using cars, you must be use seat belt. Okay, so if at the riding accident can be happens, so for this reason, for safety reason, you must be use seat belt and helmet. Same as exception is also a runtime error, but we can resolve it at the runtime. Okay, but if any other error will arise at the runtime, we can resolve at the runtime. Okay, that's the difference between exception and error. But exception is also a runtime error. Okay, but we can resolve it. So for this purpose, Java provides us exception handler. If we use exception handler, we can avoid this situation. If any exception will arise at the runtime, and we have already used exception handler, so program will continue. It will not interrupt, but it will return a message related to that particular exception. Okay, but our program will execute properly, no problem. But if you can't use exception handler in your programming code, so JVM will terminate your program if any exception will arise at the runtime. That's the benefit of exception handler. If you are using exception handler, your program will continue. If any exception will arise at the runtime, it will show only the message of that exception, but our program will continue. Okay. So Java provides us five keywords: try as an exception handler, try, catch, finally, throw, throw. Okay. After that, there are two types of exception in Java. First is checked exception, okay, and second is unchecked exception. Checked exception is also called file type exception, and unchecked is also called runtime exception. Okay, what are the difference between checked exception and unchecked exception? Actually, compiler knows checked exception can be arise at the runtime. So compiler force to user to put exception handler in your programming. Okay, but compiler don't know about the unchecked exception. So compiler don't force to user to put the exception handler in your programming code that any exception can be arise at the runtime. Okay, that is difference between checked and unchecked exception. So Java is the object-oriented programming language. So we work, uh, all work we can work in Java as a class, interface, or object. Okay, same as exception is also a class in Java. Okay, so the parent class of Java is Java dot lang dot throwable. is the parent class of Java. Okay, and throwable have two child. First is exception, and second is a error. Okay, and the child class of exception is IO, IO exception, SQL exception, class not found, exception, file, file not found exception. Runtime exception, and runtime exception have some child classes like arithmetic exception, input, input mismatch exception, number format exception, null pointer exception, array index out of bounds exception. These are the subclass of runtime exception. So these are child class of runtime exception. Okay. So here IO exception is a checked exception. SQL is a checked exception. Class not found is a checked exception. File not found is a checked exception. And runtime exception is an unchecked exception. Okay. So obviously all child class of runtime exception are unchecked exception. These are unchecked exceptions. So child class of runtime exceptions are unchecked exceptions. Okay. And the difference is compiler knows about the checked exception. So at the runtime, compiler forced the user to put the exception handler in your programming code because any exception can be arise at the runtime. But compiler don't know about the unchecked exception. So compiler don't force the user to put the exception handler in your programming code and any exception can be arise. Okay. So that is the difference between checked exception and unchecked exception. And as its exception handler, we use try, catch, finally, throws, and throw. One by one, we will use all exception handler. Okay. So here, so the benefit of the exception handler is this: if any exception will arise at the runtime, our program will continue, it will not interrupt. Only we will receive the message related to that particular exception. Okay, so how to use try get? So for this purpose, we use try. This is a try block. We can write the all code within the within this block. Okay, if any exception will arise at the runtime, and I think you know that the all exception are classes. So try block create the object of that class and throw from this block. And there is a cache block, and cache block receive that object and saving the reference of that class and show the message related to that particular exception. Okay, we can use one or more catch at a time, no problem. We can declare multiple catch after trying. So as your requirement, you can use. Suppose you have idea, you are thinking that except in your program, arithmetic exception, input mismatch except, number format except. These are more than one exception can be arrived in your program, so you can use multiple catch. And here you can declare the exception class like arithmetic, and here you can show the message related to that exception. Okay, so now I'm going to create the example of exception. Okay, Noor,
Okay.
accept. I'm going to create a class, new class, STM, public static void name, finish. Now I'm going to system out integer and we want to input two values. For this purpose, I'm going to use scanner. So scanner int is a buffer of keyboard. After that, we can call next int. Okay, same as we can input second values. After that, we can calculate the result. Like suppose we want to divide first number by second number. Okay, after that, we want to show the result. Okay, now we can execute it. Okay, but suppose we want to execute this program more than one time. So here we can use loop or I is equal to ls r equal to 5 I plus plus. Okay, so here I'm trying to execute this program 5 times. Okay, now I'm going to execute it. Run as the first values, second values. Okay, it's working properly, no problem. But suppose by mistake a user will input a zero value as a second. Let's suppose here any value and second value as a zero. Then it will show a exception like arithmetic exception divided by zero. We cannot divide by zero. Okay, so it will show, and our program will interrupt. Okay, we cannot do this. So for this purpose, we can use try block here. Try we can use catch because here you can see this arithmetic exception has arisen. So here I have declared arithmetic exception, and here you can show a message as you like. Please okay to log here. Suppose I'm going to execute it. So here I have declared any values and divided by 0, then it will show a message. Please don't divide by 0. And here, but our program will continue. It will not interrupt. Okay, it will working fine. Finally, but working, no problem. But if by mistake a user will input 0, then it will show the message related to please don't divide it by 0. But our program will continue, it will not interrupt. That is a benefit of exception handling. Okay, but here multiple exception can be arise. It is possible. So here we can use multiple catch like mismatched exception. And this print stack trace, it will print the default message and it also performs the tracing. It will show the line number where exception has arisen. Okay, so here we can declare multiple catch after the try block as per our requirement. Okay, but suppose, so if uh, arithmetic exception arise, then this catch will handle it. If input is match exception will arise, then this catch will handle it. If number format exception will arise, then this message will arise. It will handle. Okay, but suppose any other exception will arise. Okay, then so we can declare here exception. Or exception is a parent of all types of exception. So if you use exception, so it can handle all types of exception. Okay, but we cannot use catch exception at the beginning of catch list. It will show runtime compile time error. Okay, because if catch exception is a parent of all exception classes, it can handle each and every type of exception. So if we use exceptions, we have not a use of this. This is these are the useless. Okay, so for this reason, exception have low priority, and we use at the end of the catch list. If we will use beginning of the catch list, so it will show compile time error. Okay, so now you can execute it and you can see this. Anytime of exception, it can be handled because we are using exception. Okay. Now, if you want to use finally, the second word is it finally. Okay. So here you can see this. We are using try. After try, we can use any number of cache blocks. Okay. But finally, we can use at the end of cache block. We can use here finally block. Okay. At the end of cache list. Okay. So here, but finally block, we can use only one time with a try block. We cannot use multiple, like just multiple cache. We can use multiple cache, but we can use finally block only one time. Second thing, finally block will execute, must be execute at the runtime. Either exception will arise or not. In both situations, it will execute. So if you want to execute any instruction, must be execution of any instruction. We can declare it finally. So that will be executed. Okay. In both cases, if exception is will arise or not. In both situations, finally block will be executed. So here, let's suppose here I have declared finally block. Here I have given a message. Program is continuing. Okay. So now you can see the here declare. And output program is continuing. Finally block has executed. Okay, but here exception did not arise. Here, suppose I have declared any, suppose exception has arisen. Please don't divide by zero. Exception has arisen. But here, program is continuing. So in both situations, finally will be executed. The execution of finally block is must. It must be executed. Either exception will arise or not in the situation. Okay. So if you want to execute any instruction, the execution of that instruction is must. So you can declare in finally block. Okay. It's okay. No. Are you present?
Okay.
Here. Next. Suppose we want to create this program in another ways. Like I'm going to create another class. And here I'm declare here private and after that declare a create a method apps. First, suppose we are creating another method. It will divide, it will return the result after dividing first number by second number. First by Okay. And suppose we want to print this result through a method. So for this purpose, I'm going to create another method. Here we can print the result. Yes, we can call the result method and satisfy. Okay, successful. Now I'm going to create another class, main class, as an example. And declare a scan. But here, at the place of this, I'm going to create the object of calculus is equal to cal obj dot set value, and we can pass here. Comma, okay, and we have not need of this. This in the place of this we will call output method. And okay, so here finally block. Now go to text. Here you can see this. Here I'm using a class. First of all, I have created a class and declare here two properties, first and second. And through this method, I'm trying to set the value of first and second. Through this result method, I'm returning the value after dividing first number by second number. And here through the output method, I'm trying to print the output of this method. Okay. After that, here in main example, here same example, I'm trying to execute in another way. So here, first of all, here is the object of cat. After that, I'm passing the value of num and num2, and through the output method, I'm trying to print the value of output. Okay, now I'm going to execute it. First line, second line, when high-raised, please don't divide by 2. Okay, suppose I'm using here predefined methods, print stack trace. So this method is performing tracing and display the message related to that particular exception. Save this file, first value, and you can see this. Exception had arised, arithmetic exception divided by 0, and there are three locations. Calc, Java, line number 12, Calc, Java, line number 17, and main method, line number 18. So here you can see this. There are three locations. Their exception has arisen. Line number 12, you can see this calc Java. Line number 12, result method. Okay, here the second exception has arisen as output method of cal line number 17, and the third exception has arisen at main method line number 18. Okay, there is a, it will show the all location where exception has arisen. Okay, if you want to handle it, so there are three locations where exception have arisen. Actually, here when we will divide this number, exception will arise. Okay, so the object of that exception, it will search here, try catch, but there is no try catch. Then it will transfer that object transfer from this block to this block because here we are calling this method. So if any exception will arise in this method, okay. So if we are not using here try catch, so the object of that exception will transfer from this location to at that place where we are calling this method. Okay, so it will check here, but here we are not using try catch. Then that object will transfer from this location to at that place where we are calling this method. So we are calling this method as in example line number 18. If we are using here try catch, so it handle. You can see this program is continuing, program is working, but actually exception had arise at line number 12, and here we are not using try catch. So actually arithmetic exception, this is the exception arise at the runtime. Arithmetic exception is a unchecked exception, and all unchecked exception class has propagation. Means has propagation means it can transfer from one location to another location. Means here exception will arise in this block, but here we are not using try catch. So the object of that exception will transfer from this location to at that place where we are calling it this method. Okay, but here we are not using try catch also. So the object of that exception class transfer from this location to at that place where we are calling this method. So we are calling this method at that place. So it will transfer here. But here I'm using try catch. So it handle here, no problem. So we can use anywhere. Suppose here at the place of this. I'm removing the try catch from here. Okay, I'm not using try catch anywhere, like in this class or in example. Then it will interrupt. You can see this. Okay, program is terminated. We cannot do anything. But suppose here I use try catch in this block. Okay, this file. Now I'm going to try to execute it. And you can see here, it will handle. But here, exception has arisen, but handle, no problem. Program is continuing. we use try block used in output method at the place of set value method. Okay, and you can see this first values here 0. Okay, and no problem. So if there are three lines where exception has a rise, so we can use try catch anywhere. We can handle it, no problem. Suppose we are going to use try catch in main method at the place of this place. I can remove this and I'm going to use this try block in main method. You can see this and handle it, no problem. So we can use, there are three line numbers where exception has rise, so we can use anywhere try catch and we can handle it on any line number. Like here, we can handle it, no problem. Okay, so because the arithmetic exception is a unchecked exception, and all unchecked exceptions class have propagation. It can transfer from one location to another. Okay, but with the unchecked exception, checked exception have not propagation. So if you want to perform propagation to the checked exception, we use here throws. And here we can specify here. Okay. If you want to perform propagation, throws is alternative of try catch. We can use throw at the place of try catch. Okay, first thing. Second thing, if you want to perform propagation in checked exception, we use throws. So here, because checked exception have not propagation, so we can use throws. So you can see here, we are using throws and it's showing error here because if IO exception or SQL exception will arise at the runtime, so it will throw the object of IO exception, SQL exception from this method, and that object will reach at here because here we are calling that result method. Okay, so we have two options. You can see this. We can use try catch and we can use throws. So here we can copy this and paste here. And you can see this exception has removed. Okay, same as we can also here you can see this is showing throwing exception. Okay, so we have two options. We can here we can use throws IXM SQL exception and we can resolve it. Okay, but this is not good programming. So at the place of this, we use try catch and here we can add another catch. Like here you can see the IO exception and SQL exception. So we can handle it. So we have both options. We can use throws or we can use try catch. So throws is the alternative of try catch. We can use throws at the place of try catch. But if you are using try catch throws with the main method, that is not a good program. So you can use try catch in the main method. Okay, because that exception object will reach at JVM. That is not good program. Okay, so here that is a throws, but throws we cannot use within the method. We will always use outside of the method. You can say we use throws with the signature of method. We cannot use within the method. We always use outside of the method with signature of method. Okay. And if we want to create a block, exception free block, so we use throws. Throws is an alternative of try catch, and we can perform propagation in checked exception with the help of throws. That is the use of throws keyword. Okay, we have another keyword named is throw. Throw we will use in next session because that is very important. If you want to create a user-defined exception, we use through. Okay, so we will learn in next session. Okay, any doubt, any query, new? No? Are you present? Any doubt?
Yes.
Any doubt? Any queries?
No, thank you.
Okay, okay. Thank you all. So next session, we will try to create use of example of throws. Okay, thank you.
Okay.